guys. Thanks for coming. Hey, let me get this set up here. I'm going to draw this guy up here today. This is from last week. Sharpen those pencils. I don't like the vertical format of the Instagram. So you can see on the screen, maybe even up there, I am going to Atelier Artista's YouTube channel, as I so often do. But I don't know if the stream will drop. Instagram, I think, only goes maximum 40 minutes, and these are 20-minute drawing segments. So it's going to stop on Instagram. I highly encourage, if you're on Instagram, go over to YouTube. Or watch it on Instagram, and then you can watch the YouTube later, because it is archiving it. It is archiving it. Hi, hello, welcome. Try to straighten it out. Thanks, Leah. Sounds good on YouTube. Go to YouTube. I want to steal the viewership away from Instagram. The only issue with the YouTube is they can't see the picture I'm drawing. Maybe if I shove this over a little bit. No. There he is. This little man here. Not this little man. That little man. He's in front of me, but I'm shooting down. Got a camera right over my head. I'm going to be drawing on tan paper today. Strathmore. Comes in a pad. We actually have about 10 of these at the atelier. I'll just show you guys what I'm drawing on. For Keith Springall's class, I think it was drawing in the French academic method on toned paper. He was using a gray toned paper, and we still have a few pads of that. It's super nice and smooth, and Swinton's had made a misorder. And so they had 2 boxes, so I think 24 of these skin color ones. So I just said to him, you know, don't bother putting these on the shelf. We'll take them at the atelier, and we'll see what we can do with them. So I think I've only done 2 drawings in here. So I'm going to use it again. I'm going to go vertical. This paper is 18 by 24, and it does have a perforation in it too, which is kind of nice if you want to rip them out and give them away, but not lose that the distance of 18 by 24. This is added on. Really don't need this clipboard when I'm drawing on this paper, but take the newsprint out, throw it on the floor. I was going to draw in charcoal today. I might actually draw in a few materials today. There we go. So, looking at my model picture, if you're on Instagram, you can see, I'm going to split him vertically first, put a plumb line in my mind, in my artist mind, and I see it going from his ankle up to his knee, up to kind of the side of his temple there. I'd like to hit 3 spots on the figure, 3 landmarks. He's longer below the knee, but I'm going to put a horizontal in my mind, like a crosshair, just at his knee. So I'll even draw it today, just to get myself situated on the paper. I want to get my proportions as good as I can here. So I start kind of like with a crosshair. I hope that's dark enough. I don't want to draw too dark. This paper is a lot smoother. So unlike newsprint, where I really don't care how I'm doing the work, if I start pressing too hard, I'm going to gouge this paper a little too early on in the game, and I might not be able to erase it out. It is a smooth paper. It's pretty robust. I believe it's recycled. I can see all these little hairs in it. But I'm not really excited about making huge mistakes here. So I'm using Pierre Noir 1710 Conte This is what I did in my sharpening video on this YouTube channel. It's nice and long, about 1.5 inches, maybe even longer than my thumb tip. I'm going to use a lot of this edge when I start and keep it sharpened. Like, this is freshly sharpened, so there's actually a lot of material that's just waiting to slough off. So, where did I put that timer? It's in my pocket. 20-minute lay-in. At least that's what we call it here. Charcoal, pencil, whatever you want. I'm going to start with the head. I think I can get a good sense of the overall size and scale with my head here. He looks to be about 3 heads long to the ankle. Maybe I'll go a little bit bigger. Put his head up here. Sorry, for my eraser. Must have fallen off. It was stuck to here. So I got to make sure to also leave enough width. Though he might be 3 heads long, he's almost 3 wide, so I don't want to trap myself, have an arm running off here. That's kind of his head tilted down. All right, now I just look for big shapes. I'm going to use a more classical technique and just carve him out. The largest lines, rather than doing kind of like a gesture drawing, I'm going to just use the chopping out of the excess shape to help me place my figure. And I'm measuring a little bit. His head length comes down to the bottom of his patella, about at the tibia tuberosity, and I'm going to put the leg down the center line. So that's going to be my locator throughout this drawing. Is this a lot of stuff's happening in the lower right quadrant, not much is happening on the upper left quadrant. One, two, three. That's where his ankle is. And his ankle lines up to where his hand is. So even my guesswork is pretty accurate already in terms of the hand length. I've noticed over the years that it's a lot easier now to just put things in the right place. Like, I don't know if that's just the consistent practice. Even though I'm drawing bigger and smaller every time, it just seems to be a lot easier for me now to put things where they belong. This should actually be up here. I'm going to chalk that up to experience. We got to get the big picture in first. Even I get caught up in the details when I'm first starting. It's just a bad habit. You just want to go where your brain goes. You have to learn to control where our brain goes at first. In fact, all of life you should probably learn to control where your brain goes. I know who's out there listening. You know I'm talking to you. Learn to control where your brain goes. The monkey mind. Not helpful for drawing. Maybe helpful for abstract art. And I'm using the term art loosely. I just got to record this just in case. so I can find out what I said later. Might be nice to know. Now, you may draw completely different, like making different decisions. I assume that you do. I'm very, very vague at first, I think, compared to others. Like, I'm not committing for a long time in the beginning. I think I draw a little bit less like an illustrator and a draftsman than I do how a painter kind of feels their way around, which is why I'm using the really, I would say like not a hard edge, but maybe it's more firm. You see my lines are thick, so I haven't really committed or decided where they are exactly. So I've got most of the body in already, most of the shape that I want. So I'll start refining it. I don't know if that's clear. Start refining it. Just chopping it down further. Making adjustments as I see fit, as I go through it. You know, his forehead is behind the shoulder, so sliding it over. Trying to keep my head size the same, because that's the basis for my measurements right now. So I don't want to go changing my unit of measure. I just need one. This is a comparative measuring technique. Don't want to change the measure halfway through. It's okay to do like half size, but if you start messing up your unit of measure, that's why people get those really warped looking drawings. Tiny little legs or whatever. It's often because they are changing their unit or they're using a smaller unit. They're saying, well, that's a head length, and then they're saying, but this knee is as wide as this. And you just start to go off course a little too early. Too early. Of course, this would be much harder if the model was live. I'm moving, my view is moving. I'm looking at the negative space here, so actually I'm looking at this area. I'm not looking at his anatomy. Squinting my eyes, I'm looking at this area. About where does this come in? About where does this come in? How far down does it go? Lines up there. I do love these Conte. They are my favorite thing to draw with. But today, while sharpening, probably broke 4 tips. That's why I have this holder. Just sharpening down so far. Facial thirds. There's a nice shadow on his temple here that I'm going to be using. It actually lines up to the center line. Just move that over a little bit. Tell me now. Head length over is the acromion process. In this case, in alignment with the chin. Just want to make sure I'm maintaining that. It's okay if you make a man's shoulders a little bit wider, I find. It's a little bit more heroic looking. Like when I was young, I learned to draw the Marvel way. It's a book, I actually still have 2 copies to this day. I wore out the first copy, of course, in my youth. Back here. Learning how to draw. It was basically a recruitment video to work for Marvel. You can see it on YouTube. It's hilarious. Actually, it's very dated, but quite entertaining. I want to keep the nostrils, the brow, or at least the eyes, in an alignment. If you put those things out, I saw some friends posting some stuff today, and their brows, their nostrils, they were out of alignment, and it just makes the face look so distorted and weird. So even those of us who've been doing this a long time have to keep some of these rules in mind. It's hard to judge yourself sometimes. Okay. So I'm going to start drawing all my shadow shapes and patterns in. I've got 7 minutes, so I'll just start up at the top of the head and move down. I'll be able to adjust at the next break and check my measurements again. I'm also not being super committed to these lines. They're just shapes, really, beside each other. So don't think of them so much as well, that's a nose, because your brain thinks it knows what a nose is, and it doesn't. The brain's job is to filter what it doesn't know. Well, it filters what it knows out, and it puts what it doesn't know, what's changed, to the forefront. Think about when you're a teenager, you look in the mirror, you almost forget how you look like because you're so fixated on that little pimple you want to execute. That embarrassing thing that's going to ruin your entire day at school. Except now, they don't have to worry about that so much. In fact, that little video I made earlier of Rosemary's brush, I almost didn't post. Because how my skin looked. I was feeling bad. You know what? Sometimes you're a little shiny. Sometimes you're a little greasy. Shapes. Just shapes. I'm not caring where the chin is. It looks like a face. Enough for now. Shapes, angles. You can take your pencil, hold it up to the model, judge your angle. But when you do curves, it's hard to get them right. In fact, we tend to get them really wrong, overcompensating to the opposite side. So that's where the model's head's going to go. There's a shadow following the neck. You can see that I'm using the pencil quite differently maybe than you're used to. Holding it very close, using a lot of wrist turning, and holding it nearly flat, not like this. We call this tripod grip. Directly below the ear, about 45 from the neck. Okay. All of this is in shadow. Really dark shape here. That's almost my darkest shadow shape. There's a dark one down here as well. So I'm just gonna get my darkest darks in. Just like I would in a painting. You go, oil painters go dark to light. You watercolor guys have to think opposite. I feel like I might need to zoom down a little bit. So this particular time, rather than doing a lay-in how we do it, like with the Riley method or anything like that, with big shapes and tubes and mannequinization, I'm actually just looking for the shadow shapes of light and dark. And those are allowing me to find placement and scale of things. I'm not thinking about the anatomy at all right now. When I come back and alter things, I will. But for now, just shapes. So I'm going to take 5 and drink my tea and adjust and read comments on the YouTube stream. And you guys too on Instagram. 5 minutes. way. I hope my shoulder wasn't in the way. I'm not doing anything different, Leah. In fact, the windows are open tonight because the studio's so hot. All right, thanks for the message. Right. Okay. 2 minutes. Now I wait. Drink some tea. It's very pale looking in this video. I'm leaning back when I draw for you, YouTube guys. It's very odd. Whoa. There we go. Okay, 20 minutes. I'm going to take a couple more measurements throughout and just make sure I'm not getting off to the wrong foot here. It's only the second session, but I want to not get too lost. Right now, as often is the case for me, I feel like the head is too big. I keep checking the measurements, but part of it is that I haven't put hair on there, which is a dark mass. So I'm going to put it on because it's going to help me stop second guessing myself. Sometimes it's just the values can really mess you up. I'll just, there we go. Give you guys a little zoom. Thank you for the input. I know that the volume's good. Normally my computer is just burning up. I've got so many things plugged into it. But this time it appears that the weekend rest was very good. Now, this is on the record, unfortunately, but I've been very lucky. I lost Wi-Fi, and C-Space has come to the rescue today and hooked me up, basically. So I got a much better signal now. Hopefully it doesn't drop off again. It's hard to get people to come out and get things fixed rather quickly, unless it's plumbing. Okay, right now it's looking like my chemo. So Marty had a cool painting live stream today. For any of you who that's what you're getting in, lots of great artists in this city, and we're showing up still. Might not be considered a real job, but it's good to see that all the artists like Elena Bouchon, she's killing it. Nick Belo's out there doing it. Keith Springall, well, he never stops. You should let these guys know that you're checking them out because they deserve the encouragement too. Leah right now is drawing birds, I'm sure, in the cove. Probably listening to me say that right now too. Or not. All right, danger, danger, Will Robinson. Already falling for the details in the face. So I must learn from my own rules and get out of here. So let's go for this arm. The arm appears to be coming out of the nose. Goes down to the acromion process. You can see where that landmark, it looks kind of like it's shooting out from underneath his nose. Now these landmarks are important. If you haven't learned them yet, what are you doing? Learn them. They have been a game changer for me. Anywhere the bone is surfacing, right? So I'm actually going to use the shadow shape, which lines up past the nose as my definer. I'm getting very close to the side of my paper here. So I'm going to have to change the truth a little bit here. I'm going to have to taper the arm in slightly, or erase. Either or. I mean, you saw how fast I put this in. And I'm not a computer, not a photocopier, just a human. I'm going to try to get, also, I'm going to move this wrist over. Try to get as accurate as possible. We're not tracing here, and when the model's in front of us, we simply can't trace. At first with art, I think the goal is to draw it the best as you can and learn as much as you can from the actual thing in front of you. Then, so copying, right, in a sense. Then we're going to learn how to design. We're going to design it better. We're going to make things beautiful. Even in advertising, they elongate women's legs. So you may want to do that in your work. I'm not saying that's what you should do, I'm just saying that you need to be aware of it. After that, you start inventing things, you know, like not even character design, but you follow the rules and you can start drawing non-existent models from your mind, from your imagination, or just from pure repetition. Vilpu, he seems to draw, I don't know, like Titian or Rubens, he draws these beautiful twisted bodies. And all from his mind, right? Because he knows the rules, he knows how he wants to make things look. Okay, that's a little too detailed. But I'm getting the contours of this arm down. The lighting in this one's really cool because it's going dark, less dark, light, dark again. There's like a really nice rhythm. The bottom of the tibia tuberosity is in alignment with where this forearm muscle actually starts to turn in here. So I'm cross-referencing and cross-checking things. I'm going to bulk up this bicep. So much easier to bulk a bicep in a drawing than it is to go to a gym. Okay, that brings me up here. At the end, I'll critique my work again, like I have done in the previous sessions. It's good to be painfully honest with yourself. As an artist, if you're gonna be a little snowflake, it's gonna be a rough go for you because people are not nice about art. I show my art to people I love and care about, and you can get trashed pretty easy, you know. I'm above 40, so if my mom likes my stuff, it's not as useful as it used to be. You gotta, if you want to get better, you gotta get the skills it takes to get better. And lying to yourself about what's good and, oh, I meant to do that, that's just for art school, that's not for real life. The real world is competitive, and it's not going to be nice to you. And there's nothing wrong with that. Unless you're living in a fantasy. But art's a pretty brutal thing because it's all, you know, your feelings and stuff, and this might not be perfect, and the artist is sensitive, yeah, sure, whatever. But once this thing is out, it is what it is. No amount of talking can stick up for it. Like, the arm's too short, the arm's too short. The values are wrong, the values are wrong. But, you know, we as artists tend to take it personally. Well, we must be wrong. Well, it's only drawing, guys. It's not going to end the world if you get it wrong. So you got to be gentle with yourself, but you also got to be willing to put yourself out there. That's the whole point of critique. And my experience in art school, critique was wimpy. Critique was, oh, that's nice. I like it. Oh, I like what you did there. I like the color. But it was never really constructive to be maybe so harsh I went home crying and then got better, you know? Because in general, everyone wants to pass too. There's a couple things that work there. But if you are an artist and then you die, and your art is not hung in a museum like you may have wanted, there's probably a reason for that. So we need to work at it constantly. I've been drawing long pose every Wednesday since I opened Atelier Artista, and it wasn't until last year where I thought I made a good drawing. That's the truth. My first good drawing was last year in these sessions. Starting to get used to the time. It's like a drill, you know? What can you get done in how much time? I think artists should buck up and start to think more like athletes. Respect ourselves like ninjas. What are we training for? What is all this for? If you were in martial arts, you're training, hopefully, for something that's never going to happen. You know, getting in a fight, getting beat up, unless you're competing. That means you're an athlete. And us artists, everything we do is training for that one thing we're after. And I think just like Bruce Lee is a master, you know, to this degree, we want to call ourselves masters of art. We should be able to pick up our pencil any given time and create something good, not necessarily a masterpiece every time. This is just my weekly training for my eye. Right? That's why for so long I only did it on newsprint. I'm finally growing up to some little more expensive paper because I didn't think I was going to make anything good. You know, I'm not making these to sell. I'm just making to keep up my practice. Although it's true, some of you guys have bought my work this way, but I give all that money to charity because I don't consider these my works. It's just practice drawing. You know, if you want the Artista name on something, that's a lot more rare. That's harder to get because I'm never pleased with what I do. Not much of it exists. Scarcity market. That's what I'm going for. Although there's only going to be one of these, I think, today. I am sitting with a huge slouch just so that my hair doesn't get in the shot here. It's very hard on the back. I hope some of you guys draw along. I have received some nice pictures of people's work who are doing the follow along. Just drawing time. He's here every week. Miss him in person. He's what I refer to as furniture. Meaning he's here as much as me. Might as well just be a chair. That's not coming across the right way. I'm sorry, everyone. Talking and drawing, it's a skill that I do not have yet. So I'm simplifying some shapes now. I'm kind of drawing contours. I am finding and refining shapes. I don't know. I just do what I want here when it seems appropriate. No, it doesn't sound like the answer. But there's voice on. I'll keep talking. I was up till like 1 a.m. last night watching Kingdom or something like this, some Viking show. Oh my god. So good. I normally don't watch too much. I don't have Netflix or anything like that. But it has been nice to kind of disconnect a little bit. Since I couldn't do my regular cast, I turned into a total veg this weekend. Maybe I needed that though. I do keep going pretty hard here. So this section's done, you know, for what it is. I'm going to use charcoal after. It's a lot quicker, especially for the background, which is dark. Actually, maybe I might even erase out the background. I'm not committed to it yet. And I have my little fancy chamois, the deer skin. This isn't the smoothest paper, so I want to soften my marks because they look too gritty, I think. You know, it looks like crayon or something. And go on top. Add more material. I'm also turning this pencil while I draw, so I don't wear a flat edge. These little nuances I always forget about when I'm working. Until I do them, and then I'm like, oh yeah. I think like a lot of people, you can read all the books in the world you want about a subject, especially with art, and kind of get it. But you have to do it like 100 times to really understand the lesson. Like, I mean, sometimes I'm surprised by the questions I get asked, because I've never thought about that. I'm just doing it. But it's a pretty interesting perspective. You know, those who do it know it. You can watch Bob Ross 1 billion times. You can cut an afro into your hair. Can you paint like Bob? Hopefully not. I mean, probably not. I've been watching this YouTube guy, Andrew Tischler. He's a Kiwi from New Zealand, obviously. Thought he was in Australia. And I mean, the landscape there is just gorgeous. To be a landscape painter, be in BC. I mean, maybe don't be in Alberta. But everything he paints is gorgeous. He's very popular on YouTube, and he's got a great channel. And recently, he had a promo video. So I thought, you know, I can afford this. This was in the very early days of what's going on right now. And he had a 30% off sale on those rosemary brushes, which is his kit. So they finally showed up in the mail today. In fact, I really didn't expect them. Just considering travel bans and whatnot. I didn't expect to get them. Cannot wait to use them, but it's basically like his set and what he instructs with. And some of them are kind of wild, like weird angles. So I'm excited to see how those bad boys work. The knee and the calf are the same width. So I'm just checking that there. A lot of times they get blown out of proportion. People undulate it too far. So just going to bring it in there. Even I made it too wide. There we go. Except when I draw Danielle, I always draw people's legs too wide, the lower leg. Just a bad habit, trying to get rid of. Well aware of it, but you know, old habits die hard. I got a nice shape for the foot here. So I'm just going to squint my eyes. I'm not going to draw the toes. I'm going to draw the shadow shapes caused by the falling of light over the bones. Because if I draw the toes, It's like taking a mitten and then sewing a line in between each. It looks wrong. So one of my secrets for drawing feet is I don't draw feet. I just draw abstract lights and dark shades. And you'll see in a second it doesn't take much. And it will look like what it is. Okay, 5 minutes. I think you guys on Instagram are over. Probably. Go to YouTube. Instagram. Oh, it's still going. Oh my God. Hey, oh. Usually only goes for 40 minutes, so give y'all a wave and then shut the screen down. Oh, Elena's listening. Hey, sorry, name dropped ya. I'm glad some of you guys are out here. It's lonely in here and I cannot wait. It sounds to me like we might be getting together sooner than we originally thought. I will really like that. It's not as fun being in this big room by myself. Three and a half minutes. Good. You set in. 3 seconds. Okay. 20 minutes, and then I usually take my long break. I don't think I'm going to do that today. So, my favorite eraser is gone. It's been driving me bonkers. So I have 5 different erasers to make up for the fact that 5 different erasers don't equal that one. They can discontinue making this type of eraser. And I've had it for 3 years, so I don't know why they would get rid of such a great little eraser. Alright, so I'm using that Japanese mono eraser instead. Right? Really pointy, really expensive as well. Maybe that's why I don't like it. I'm a frugal Portuguese man sometimes. So, 20 minutes. Let's do it. Yeah, so let's keep up talking. It's not easy. I'm not that interesting when it comes to talking here. We talk about Tiger King all day. I was very resistant to watching it. Sometimes you just get bored. It was too hot and handle this weekend that changed my view. Made me feel old again. What shitty, shitty people. It's so entertaining. I hope people out there remembered that yesterday was Cinco de Mayo. Mia made a fiesta, a Mexican fiesta yesterday, and I ate way too much. Not only did I eat too much, tacos, beans, ice cream. Oh man, the ice cream. Mexican Coca-Cola made with cane sugar. And then the day before that, May the 4th, totally missed that one. That's the nerd holiday, if there ever was one. Yeah, before break we were doing this book. All right. Let's keep this book dark. Let's see. In the back, doesn't matter. So I got my stump. Backgrounds can be blurry. It helps to start from that soft place. Still rotating my pencil all the way through here. Doesn't look like it, but I'm doing this. These darks really need to be pushed into this particular paper. They look too gritty. The smooth newsprint doesn't do that. Six more on top. I'll probably run a little charcoal over top of this too, but I might as well get it into the tooth of the paper right now. Oh, that's going nice. It takes the just the right amount of mark making material and floats really nice on this paper. It's actually more material than I thought. So I'm just going to add more. Press a little bit harder, but I don't want to go overboard here. People get impatient. They put too much drawing material on, or they press too hard and they gouge the paper too early in the game. Darks can be flat. And then to show the two variations, your darks and then your reflected light, just add more material after. So, flatten this dark out. And then I'll put more dark in on top. And what seemed like dark before I layered it some more, will become the reflected light, which is a terrible word for it if you're trying to explain to people darks and lights, because reflected light, it is a type of light, but it's in the darks. And that really confuses people at the beginning. Same as like halftone or tone. Some of the words we artists are using to explain what things aren't always the clearest. But then again, trying to explain what you're doing in art isn't always the clearest thing to do. That's why you're making art. So you don't have to say it. Show it, don't say it. All right, let's get his ear in. His ear starts above the brow line. Not actually, just when the head is tilted like this. And it's ending just around his eye. That nice Vulcan type there. If you don't know the parts of the ear, the helix, the antihelix, the fossa, doesn't hurt to learn more things. But I noticed that people draw the weirdest shapes with ears. And it's actually very simple once you know the parts. I'm not even plugging your class right now, I'm just saying. Just don't skip it. Draw the ear right. Whatever you're drawing, you need to have knowledge of, or be learning about it by drawing it and studying what it appears. Birds have certain physiological differences in their shape and structure. Horses, people, right? If you like race cars, draw race cars. You'll know a lot about it. I like learning about people and the anatomy of them. Makes me better at drawing their anatomy. You know, you don't even see things you don't know. When I was first drawing, like, I didn't know all the names of the bones or the muscles or anything like that. And the more that I learned, what am I doing wrong, I was able to start finding these places. You know, those landmarks I'm talking about, huge. Huge improvements through having knowledge. Now, that being said, you don't have to be a doctor, although I bet they're very good at drawing. You don't have to be a doctor to be good at drawing or understanding the body, because the doctor deals with what's going on inside. Us artists, we are more concerned with what's going on outside. I have a student who's a makeup artist. Man, can she draw and paint eyebrows, I tell ya. And I've learned a lot from her because she tells me what the styles are, what's, you know, what the look is, where they're supposed to be on the face. Everyone comes to this table with different needs and different information. If you can sew, you could make different costumes for your models to wear. And thus, you would have different work than anyone else because the influences you have make your voice unique. I have a background in sculpture, and I'm really into kinetic sculpture, like the wonderful Katie Owie does. There's a lot of great kinetic sculptors out there, and they kind of think like engineers to make their artworks move. It's just a whole different way of looking at the world. And it's artists' job to get better at what they're doing, for sure, but also to create new ways of seeing. You know, we can bring joy to people's lives, we can entertain, we can remind them of their miseries. We do have a very important role in society, even if right now we're not considered essential workers. I don't think that means we should stop doing what we need to do in our fields to get better. Most artists I know right now are on overdrive anyhow. If you're just watching this and not drawing and wondering, what should I be doing right now? Well, you should be probably doing what you really want to do and love. You like watching drawing this much, you should probably be drawing. Sorry, YouTubers, Bunny's gotta draw. Sometimes my head's gonna get in the way. 2 minutes left in this sitting. I'm already putting hair detail in. You might remember from last week, I ended off there. I'm thinking that I might leave the background plain. So I'm getting the hair in to see because it is a big dark value. And I might just clean up all around him. When we photographed Ryan, I had put up the dark backdrop. I like when the backdrop merges into the figure so that you get these like lost edges. But in the near future, I'm going to photograph on white because we tend to be drawing on lighter grounds. And that's a game changer right there. Sounds like there's some active emergency outside of C-Space right now. I hear sirens. I'm going to make Vin's shoulders wider. And maybe his arms thicker. I left that side, so it's dark, but it has some reflected lights in it. 10 seconds, and I'm going to take another break. We're moving along. I think this would be the halfway point, pretty much. So normally I would take 15 minutes, but I do have to see a man about a horse, so I'm going to take 7 and see if that horse is there. And then we'll be back. Coming! Whoa. Sorry about that. Got a little distracted. Washing my hands. All right, so thanks for staying with me, YouTube people. I'm going to tilt this so that you can see the reference better. So just give me a second, and I've been getting good feedback. He's been telling me what's going on. There we go. I mean, it's not straight on anymore, but I'll try to tilt so you can kind of see what I'm looking at as well. And the live feed at the same time. All right, 20 minutes. This is the time when it's just after 7. And so it's all downhill from here. What? That's just Leah telling me what's going on. It's good to have some feedback. I don't use this chat thing. No one else has been using it, so I hope people like this content. The talking during is crazy for me. It's really like, what am I supposed to talk about? Normally, I like drawing because of the silence. I really like hearing the of the pencil, so maybe we'll do more of that. But the funnest person to be around when drawing is happening is Jeff Klепis. And all you can hear is be in a perfectly quiet room. Keith's got his headset on. I don't have the music on, but you can hear Jeff just scraping away. His work looks so good, and he uses cross-hatching technique to do his drawing. So check it out. He also had some classes planned for here, and we will pick them up when we can, because I think to have the chance to learn from an artist who's so skilled and talented, I mean, you got to take advantage of those things. That's the whole reason I built this place. So we could get together and we can all improve the art scene here in Cowtown. Maybe even change the idea that, you know, it's just Western art here. We can do that. We can be the reason why people put Calgary on the map. You know, like Austin's got a music scene. I don't understand why Calgary, and we have so many good, well, we have so many good musicians too. We have so many good artists. And you know what? There's not even enough of us. We can all keep working. There's enough of us to keep the thing going. It doesn't just have to be the same artist all the time. It's like Calgary's got enough artists to support a lot more people. Especially as we improve, you know, the value of everyone goes up. I mentor a lot of people, even outside of having the school. I've got guys like Jesse Gaucher, who he did the Blackfoot graphic novels with me in animation. I mean, he's slaying it. And you know, he does wall art. I don't know, I'm just so proud of the level that Calgary artists are at. I'm not even from here. I'm from BC. And I came here for different reasons than one might expect. I did not want to come here. But Emily Carr would not have me, let's say. That's the reason. And also my mom lived here. I lived in BC. And then the day I graduated, my stepfamily said, now what do you want to do? And I kind of took it as, get out of our house. I was wrong, but it did get me here. And the first time I applied to ACAD, I was not accepted. For whatever reasons they have. But since then, I've been helping people get, AU Arts. I gotta respect the name change here. But I originally didn't even get into art school. I knew my whole life that I wanted to be an artist, That was a low blow when I didn't get in. That was pretty crushing. You know what I'm saying about the thick skin that you gotta have to survive this game? I could have gave up then. But that would have been silly. I'm starting a new body of work. I got my new brushes. And what's really cool is the body of work that I've selected allows me to do a lot of research into the things that I'm interested in. And in this case, very esoteric things. That's what interests me. I previously did a lot of work with Buddhist iconography. But the times are changing, and I was a Buddhist, but I changed my beliefs, and also there's this whole cultural appropriation thing happening, which I think shouldn't affect artists. I think aesthetic, beauty, the things we look at, should be free reign to all. In a way, music is, but for some reason, art's not. You know? Not to say that they don't make fun of white rappers, because they do, but there's some good ones out there. Just going to erase out some lights. I'm going to move away from the head here now. It seems like every time I start a session, I come back to, I guess this is the focal point, you know, I come back to that important area. But if I'm not careful, like I'm not being careful here, you get trapped in this area for a long time. But a lot of times when I'm drawing, I'm window shading, like I'm going down. So this is more complete, which allows me to get other areas more complete. Just keep working down. When I squint my eyes, all of this merges together. I know, though, that if this is the scapula, the spine of the scapula, that means the acromion process is right here. So I'm actually going to emphasize it. And from here, I would be seeing what's attaching to here. This is the clavicle. So I'm going to put a little bit more dark in here, just to show kind of that clavicle point. Here, we see some neck. It's light. It's not as dark as here. But even the sternocleidomastoid here, I would see some sort of definition. So I'm just going to draw it a little bit. Darks, it's better to flatten them out. Do a lot less drawing in your darks. We can't see in the dark, so you shouldn't spend a lot of time rendering in the darks. It makes things look lumpy, I think. That might be the best word for it. So we like to keep our darks fairly flat. Some people would argue you only need one value in the darks. I like to have the reflected light too. I would say 2 is enough. Your darkest dark, your core shadow, your form shadow, your terminator line, and then the reflected light in the darks. Everything else is light, and light is what shows the form. Gotta hide this ear a little more. And on this side, I have it's lighter. It's up the overhead light in the studio, actually causing that illumination on that side. So that's not reflected light. Okay. The folds under the arm here, the pec muscle. Those can be pretty dark, but soft. They're not like a knife stabbing in. This line here is a cast shadow, so So I tend to leave it as a line, drawn, same as here, drawn. So I'm using the tip. And to make the chin look like it's coming out more forward, I'm actually going to erase right beside it to create higher contrast. That's that overlap. That's one of our Renaissance words we always teach the kids. Good for adults too. Very useful term. Hey Robin, sorry, I just looked now. I love when people put the comments. That's great. I'm just going to respond quick. Why not? I got time, right? Did I do that right? I don't know. Okay. So the lower leg here is not as light as the paper at this point. So I'm just using some excess material. There is light here, shine. This was near the end of the photo shoot with Ryan. I'm just going to use the kneadable eraser just to lighten it a little bit. I still don't want it. This light is perpendicular, so it tends to be one of the lightest lights, and it's a very big flat area. But you want to tone the lower part of the body to show the fall of light. It's further down, it's further away from the light, so it needs to be a little bit brighter, or sorry, darker. Yeah. Use your words, funny. This bit of the knee can be highlighted. Some of these highlight areas I'm going to put white on later, just to give me a little bit more value and contrast. So this is a cast shadow, meaning it looks like it's coming from this leg, but it could be this arm. It's like this arm is casting this shadow, is what's happening. So it can be a much firmer, if not harder, edge, which almost looks like he's wearing some crazy yoga pants. But that's how it looks to me when I stare at it. Okay. Just gonna flatten it out a little bit more. Get more of it in the tooth of the paper. If you want to know all the secrets of this paper, I know one man, one Keith Springall, who works this paper like a master. This is only my third drawing on it, and I can see that why he uses a lot of softer materials like pit pastels and charcoal. Whereas I'm treating this paper a little too drawy, but maybe next time I'll use charcoal and see how much quicker it goes. I think that's why he's probably doing it, because his technique is very effective. He even gets color on there. I'm going to actually take out this negative shape for now. See what that does. Paper should be tough enough to be erased. Should be able to beat the hell out of it a little bit. You know, normal printer paper, nada. Sketchbook paper, not so much, right? Sketchbook paper is great for graphite or ink. Maybe not the best for the long pose. So this lower leg is not this bright. There's hair on the leg. So I'm going to add some material and give it a value shift. it's also lower, right? Maybe take a little bit out on the patella, on the knee, and a little bit along the bone that's coming down. Here, catching some light. Cast shadow, hard edge. Foreshadow, hard edge. Now that I say it all out loud, I'm like, huh, that's what I'm doing. This is easy. You can never know all of it. But teaching has definitely helped me verbalize it better and to know how to help other people improve quicker. I'm awfully proud of how fast people make improvements here. And it's no special secret. I'm not going to chalk it up to that. But I think what it is having someone trained to show you the way and to be able to give you a good critique, because they can see where you're making mistakes. And it's not that they can judge it better. It's that, like, when I'm teaching, I'm trying to figure out how are they seeing. They're showing me how they're seeing by showing me just the limit of their technical ability, but also the limit of how they see. Like, I can solve around the problem because I know what they are seeing and not seeing by how they put the line or how they draw it. You know, it tends to be far less a problem with the tool, like how you hold the pencil and all that kind of stuff, and way more a problem of what you're actually perceiving. The longer you look, the blinder you're getting. You know, these long poses are a whole different beast. I don't know if there's anywhere in the city that, other than here, that we specialize in it. And I do it because I opened this place because I knew there was nowhere else to do it, and I wanted a place to be able to teach myself and keep up the skill with the long pose. For me, it's more useful for painting to be able to study for longer, and you can't fool yourself into thinking painting is going to be quick. Plein air painting, somewhat quick, but if you want that polished look of a Vermeer, it does not happen in 3 hours. 3 months maybe. So long pose is good to keep up that professional practice. Keep striving for that level of reality. And that's the other one. So I don't really say that we're a realist school at the Atelier. It's not so specific. Because I think that if you took a Rembrandt and you took a Vermeer and you took a Leonardo da Vinci and you took a character from each one of their paintings or drawings and you put them in the same universe, the same space, I mean, they would not fit together as good as Marvel fits with DC. Okay, I know that was extra nerdy, but they're from different realities. They're from different worlds, and they don't fit together so well. You know, even from the same master, the artist, their depiction of reality, like there's no one set, that's reality. That's what it should look like. That's what everyone should do. I know that the kind of the concept behind bark drawings is similar to that. But even Botticelli, I mean, those necks are so long. And it's by choice. It's by choice. And we have that choice as artists in how we're going to make maybe reality the way we wish it were. Photography does a fine job of duplicating it fairly well. I mean, even that is not perfect. And so, we as artists have to choose. Same. So if you took all those artists' characters and put them together, like it would be Alien for sure. They look like people at least, but they're not all from the same part of town, let's say. I guess that's my task. I'm going to have to learn some Photoshop and put those guys together to prove my point. Maybe even make that painting for you. Just what I'm after is skills. Skills are things that people can teach you and that you can learn from someone else. I've learned a lot from teachers like Robert Liberace, Shane Wolf, Henry Yan. Watching my friends, they're like the best teachers. Coming to the life drawing here, I learn a lot. Learn a lot because people have accomplished themselves through their practice and through the places they've learned. Bobby Dunlop, Slayer. So 5-minute break. This is coming along. I'm not 100% on this angle for you YouTubers. I feel like it's a little too distorted. So I'm going to try to, well, I'm just going to turn the works a little bit more. Wait, maybe that will do it. So we're getting closer. I'm going to take a little break. There'll be 2 more sessions, maybe 3, and a critique at the end. I don't even feel like I can draw this drawing for that long, because I'm not going that type of detail, but maybe I'll render the face up even more. Some of the places I've been unable to erase are going to become very frustrating shortly. Okay, 5 minutes, tea time. 1 minute. 1, 2, 1, 2, here we go. Well, well, well. See? And I get to say something like, back to the drawing board, literally. Okay. I have a little bit more area here that I'm going to fill in with the Conte. It's getting dull. Usually at the halfway point, I would sharpen it up. I do have another. And I'm just going to fill in the dark area. After this, I'm going to switch over to my Wolf's Carbon. We'll start it at 19. All right, there we go. Just because I need to lay in the dark more. And so, this is just the 1710. Just to separate the two. 1710. It's good to draw cross contour sometimes. This leg looks like it's flattening out. There's a very, very flat part of the leg here, but I'm just going to shade in, following the curvature of that shadow a little bit. So it's going to give me some textural lines. I mean, in a way, you could be like, oh, it's the hair. But really, it's just to lead the eye. The value difference cannot be huge. I'm even going to pull a little, this is a tortillon, so it's folded up paper. Let me bring it close to you guys. It's folded up newsprint, and it will help me give direction to my lines. I'm pulling it, the direction, so it's almost like these little lines are scratching in that direction. So a stump kind of flattens them out, I find, but I can use the angles on the tortillon to, you see how it gives directional texture, and use it to like do hair. So I put a little hair there. It's like a comb almost in how it will leave some line-like mark in the shadows. Maybe that's too tricky. There's lots of tricks. Okay, I haven't even drawn the forearm, but this cast shadow curves. It curves, I'll lighten it slightly. It curves because it's following the direction of the form. And there's a shadow, even darker on the leg, cast from the overhead light, which is illuminating here in this part of the arm, onto the leg. So a little bit darker. Helps lift the arm up at least. This might be better described with the Wolf's Carbon, actually. Okay, so from the leg, across the bicep, up to the tricep, over. That's still actually just the side of the bicep then, actually. It's hard to talk and draw, I swear. All of this is dark. go back to this postcard. Or sorry, this. I don't know what's up with that pencil. It might be an H and not a B. The preferred lead for the 1710 is the B, if you can get it. I do carry them at the atelier for people if they want them. I still got stuff and can do drop-off. A lot of the art stores, well, don't carry them is one of the problems, but a lot of the art stores are doing deliveries. So, you need materials right now. Get a hold of those guys. They're small businesses. Screw Amazon. The only guy getting rich right now is Bezos. He's probably sleeping with his boyfriend Bill Gates and laughing about how much money they're making right now. Okay, that might be veering towards conspiracy a little bit, but if you can support the little guys, the local guys, the guys you can actually talk to, that's what you should be doing. I mean, they'll drive to your house. That's more convenient than normal. So that might be the way to go if you need some materials. You can also contact me. I've had a few students come down and I have left them stuff at the door at C-Space, keeping major social distance. Not because I want to, because I should. Okay. You're welcome to use your artistic license. Choosing how you shade. How you see the forms turning. What materials you've used. It's a good thing. It's all an experiment and a process of discovery. This hand is looking a little weird. I am saving the hands for when I have the wolf's carbon. Really regretting not having my eraser right now. This big fat one will have to do. So core shadow, soften, it's turning the form. Cast shadow, hard line. So even just drawing those different lines give a different appearance on your work. Okay, getting a little caught up here. Going to squint my eyes here. Move this arm in a little bit. Oh, sorry, head. Push it out this way a little bit more. Trying to match the wrist size. The wrist shall be the same size on both sides in this case. I'm going to darken my core here. Help pop it out a little more. Okay. There actually is a light glow on the inside of this dark form. But I can erase that out at the end and use the white line that I'm going to use for the highlight to do that effect. Deltoid, this is the dark light. Right back up here. See how quickly it makes it look less flat when you start to shade in your lights. So they're not the darkest lights, they're the halftone. Is where all the form is really. The shadow gives it that three-dimensionality for sure. But it's that halftone, that turning of the form right before the shadow. That's what makes the arm look meaty. You never want to have the edge be the lightest part. It's always down the middle because the form is turning away from you, turning around. I'm just going to add more here. Some of it is meant to be the color and value of the paper. So I have a little bit is my halftone, the darkest light. And then I'm going to have the paper, and I'm going to have a highlight on top of that in the end here. That's the plan. There's a big vein right there, it's catching the light. Little triangle there. Like that. There's actually a light in this edge too. Let's see how that goes. Just gonna step back for a minute. To the wolf's carbons. So they're a lot smaller. Nice pointy. I mean, they're short too, the ones that I'm using. It gives me more control over what I'm doing. They are a little waxier. I wouldn't say they're darker. They seem to be pretty much the same. But drawing on top, they'll allow me to sit some more material on top. And I'm going to draw more lines and directions now. The other thing that you can do is take a piece of paper and float it on top so that you're not totally dragging your hand over everything. I'm going to add some value here. So, just doing the details of the foot now. where the nail is, where the knuckles fall. Where the tendons come out. Might have went a little heavy on this leg here. Okay, so it's going to take 5 minutes. Take it. Maybe you got to take a pee. Maybe you need a tea. It's just after 8. We have 2 more sittings. Have to hit the start on that. So I'm gonna zoom in and can I zoom in tighter? Try to position myself. I'm gonna work on the hands. Tilt this camera down. Okay, let's go tighter. Oh yeah, okay. So I'm gonna work on this lower bits here. The finer details, maybe it will be helpful to see the shapes closer. I don't know, we'll see how this goes. This is definitely more drawerly, more detailed. Tendons are straight lines. Veins, curved. Straight and curved. Same as the shadow shapes. Half shadow, foreshadow, curves and straights. Creates more visual interest. It's not working right now. Okay, that's gonna have to be. Really arc around this finger. Knuckles. Just gonna take a measure here. The hand's gotta be a lot longer. So I believe that curve is gonna be much further down here. The thumb is gonna be more over. That's straight, shadow, and curve. tail. What? Sorry, guys. Oh, okay. I'll just balance the table here. Knuckles, folds, rabbit. So I didn't really draw the finger out before I got started. I'm just drawing the shapes of the lights and darks now. As long as I have that overall shape, it's going to turn out okay. Straight across, up, and up it comes in. Comes down. So just like I was saying earlier about the feet, you might not want to draw so much, you know, the mitten anatomy. But just draw the lights and darks as you see them. You'll get a much more realistic looking hand, let's say. Okay, darken it. Now the hands get a lot of sun, so they're not going to be, they're going to have tone on them. They're going to be reddish in real life. But you don't want to have them be so light. Directly above this knuckle is the fold. We actually are only going to see 3 fingers in this position. The other one is bent right here. Some flush. I like how this looks stylistically right now. Some more shadow shape. Oh, broke my pencil. Broke my pencil. There is a separation between those two. I'm just going to smudge this in a little bit more. This hand, I've got my paper so far tilted up here that it's starting to look very distorted to me. Let's check my camera setting. So I broke, this pencil's dead. Gonna let it die. And try to pick this up now. From here. The hand does go past the elbow to support the weight. Some veins and stuff in the shadows, but there is a little bit of light on this hand. It's getting a little fill light. From above, it's just bouncing in. Maybe sun down a little bit more. Just to get the shadow below the hand to line up. This cast shadow below our model is pretty much solid black. Pretty much. So I'm going to have to sit here for a minute. Oh, and color it in. change the direction. Make sure that the pencil is getting in all those little holes, all that texture, the nooks and crannies. I'll still smudge a little bit too. This is kind of the kind of work that you can leave until the end or during a break. Or don't even put the shadow in at all. I like including the cast shadow because I feel like it gives gravity and weight to your drawing. Instead of making it looking like a medical illustration or something, a little bit floating, it grounds it. And it is what gives it that popping up appeal. I'm going to rub this in and see if I can get it a little bit darker. Just like I did up here underneath the pec muscle. I want it dark, almost like crayon or China marker, which you could use for this. We said it all had to be the same material. So by putting my darkest darks in, I'm going to jump shortly to my highlights. Let me just get these in first. I kind of need the value judgment of having these in. This looks so light now because of the dark I put beside it. So let's darken that down a little bit. Move up a little bit and work on this other hand. Now, I'm just going to go for 7 minutes here with the finalizing of my darks and stuff. And this hand. Take a small break, put in the highlights. There are little things here and there that I can go back on. I can draw on top of too. That's actually in a good place. The fingers are in alignment with these fingers here. Although they're not quite touching the ground. But what I'm actually drawing is shadow shapes. I'm not drawing tubes. You see that this is disconnected right now. I don't want to draw the tubes, or I'll get those weird mitten hands. Just combine the shapes. Draw patterns of light and dark. There's lost edges involved. You know? They look better when you combine them. Then try to draw all the little details. That one up in the wrong place. Put that one in. Got $2 instrument for this particular tactic. I got 2 minutes. I want to get this dark in here. Just like the dark on the other side, that cast shadow, make it real dark. Help this thing pop out. Pop out. Let me zoom back again. Sorry. There we go. So you can see it lifting it off here. I'm actually sharpening the pencil right now. Side to side movements, turning it. It's just habit. I can feel when it goes flat, it draws different, it draws thick. Loses the edge control that I want. Mother's Day is coming. I hope everyone remembers that. Seems like we missed out on Cinco de Mayo. Should not miss out on Mother's Day. People are still delivering, so should be fairly easy to send flowers or maybe cake. You can send moms chocolates, food. We always look to them for our own strength. Let's make sure they're treated right. Okay. I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to pull a Keith Springall, and I'm going to use my time here. For the background. Breaks are for backgrounds. That's what we started saying in here. It's the last session, so often it's more the model, symbolic. We have people leaving early sometimes out of the room. So we still take it. Doesn't mean everyone takes it. It's a nice time if someone is leaving early to say goodbye between the model sets. Often I'm signing my work at this point because I have to do the cleanup and stuff. I really do miss that eraser. Okay, I'm skipping ahead. I shouldn't be doing that. Let me realign this camera because I got a little wacky. And then we'll be head on proper styles. Come on, camera. This is very precarious. I have to use an Allen key, so. Okay, here's the room. Don't fall down. Don't fall down. Now let me just test this. I'm gonna put it up on my lap. Hey, that's looking pretty good. Push it back a little bit. You can still see the representation. I'm going to put this up beside it at the critique part of this. So I'm just going to keep working now. So I'm just going to stop the clock. We've got about 24 minutes, but I want to do a critique at the end. So I'm going to just start lightening some areas. I might have to go back and darken, of course. There is this reflected light up on the inside of his arm. And if I have that line around, because I don't have it dark, looks a little strange. This is a nice part actually, though. So I got to get this finished good enough so I can post it at least and go home and eat some cake. I'm getting texts about cake right now. Very distracting. I haven't had cake in, since my birthday probably. I had some ice cream cake actually, that's not true. I did have some ice cream cake. But I was on the keto diet for 4 months. And it was very good to me. I'm off it right now, which means I can have some cake. What better excuse than it being a Wednesday? Cake day. I'll move this up a little for you guys. Calling it in a little bit on this hand down here, but I'm okay with that. There is this vein. Hmm. Let's see if we can get this detail in here. Sometimes these like veins and stuff don't really enhance it. Let's see if it does. His arm is down. So this vein is pumping through, right? One on the thumb too. It's catching a lot of light. So I'm just chasing after lights now. Got this tiny little mono zero eraser. You gouged the paper too early on. This might be near impossible. Fortunately, we also have the ability to put the white on top. Oh, now I see. I made this peck too wide. Or maybe it's just I changed positions here. I'll put a little highlight on the achromium process and a little bit along here, just to emphasize the scapula. It's right beside a light, and normally it would be beside a dark, so I do have to have that line there. He's got freckles on his shoulders. This side of the arm is also a little bit lighter. You can also do this with your kneadable by squeezing it and creating like a little knife shape and carving that away. I'm not going to put the white on this side, I don't think. We'll see. This is a great opportunity to have places where you can add color, like a fill light. You can make all this side a different color, like bluish, to offset the warmth of this paper. All sorts of cool tricks. None of which I'm going to employ right now. More down there too, but just figuring out the lightest lights. Put a little more texture in there too while we're here. Said in the beginning that I was done with it, but you never know. It needs a little more hair. Some more texture. But I don't want spaghetti hair, just texture. darken that core shadow a little bit more. This one's fine. Clean up around them a little bit. Ah! When the eraser breaks like that, it's like a gift. A gift to give you an awesome shape eraser. Erasers are meant to fall apart, really. Except for kneadable ones. Let's just... Okay. Now I got this crazy ass shape. Do different things here. The eraser is almost the same color as the paper. Gold teeth. Okay. Let's give it a little blow. Now we'll add some of the whites. Got this nice array of pencils. Here's some not quite sharpened. What is this? General's White. 4414. Sure. So now when I'm looking at my model, I'm going to use the same trick I did when I looked for shadow shapes. I'm going to squint my eyes down, but now I'm going to squint them to only see what's light and dark. Or before I'm only squinting to see what's light and dark, sorry. Now all I want to do is squint down to see what's the lightest light. And, you know, it's only 10 to 15% of the whole image. So I'm not going to color a whole bunch of white everywhere. When the model is shiny or when you can change the exposure, at the end of the session they tend to be a little shiny from perspiring from sitting. You're looking for those shine points, which are perpendicular to the light. They tend to be a lot more grouped at the top as well, except for on the nails and sometimes on the toes of the feet, because the toes, especially if the body's pressing down, will be a lot more white down here. Sorry, my head's in the way. A lot more white down here. So I'm going to look at my source material. I'm going to squint and I'm going to start adding the white. I see some on the forehead, and I feather it out a little bit. It's not just coloring it in. I'm going to use some in between the erased parts on the hair. Because there's light hair, and as it's turning, there's only some parts which are catching the glint of light, not the whole string of hair. If you do the whole string of hair, now you're saying that the model has white hair, rather than just a little bit of highlight. Just a little bit. Okay? Let's put a little bit on the bridge of the nose, although the nose tends to be very red. The blood vessels are at the end. Put some on the lid of the eye too. So this one blends quite nice with this charcoal. Okay. Feathering it out a little bit more. The achromium process, and along this ridge, got some light, and then a little bit down the deltoid. A little bit. It's not super duper rounded and shiny there. It's fading off, but it is a little bit of highlight there. When I squint my eyes, I see it going down like this. This kneecap for sure is catching some of this light. This direction. There's a little bit under the chin here, along the neck and above the collarbone shadow, top of it, a little bit there. I am going to put that trick line here on the inside of the arm. It's not as realistic, but it does add some zing Same as here. Kind of like outlining to get it to separate itself from the background. Same as on the achromium process. Maybe along the edge a little bit. These tricks. These are just tricks now. Just going to wipe it off a little bit. Down the forearm. Some tendons. From the fingertips up. It's the nails shining. Side of the thumb. Some knuckles on the toe, maybe some of the nails. Side of the finger. Not much though. Just little hints here and there. Wow, this generals really works nice. 4-4-1-4. I like it. A little bit here. These are now effects. And there's a highlight here on the knee. That might be it. Let's clean up a little more. Got about 6 minutes left, so let's critique this bad boy. I guess I should sign it. Let's see here. I need my smaller pencil. Where are you? Well, I know where the Allen key is for the tripod. Alright, I'm just going to take this little piece and I'm just going to sign it by in between these fingers. Sure. What is it? May 6. Sure. Alright, signed. Allen key in hand. I'm going to tilt this up to the screen now and talk for the last little bit here. And well, let's see how well I did. Just bear with me for 1 second. All right. Oh, there we go. It's level enough, I think. Okay. Hope you're still here and you can hear me. So there's my drawing. The side, the piece. Now my drawing is a little bit bigger, so I can't do, well, I guess I could grow this a little bit. So once again, it's not a tracing, but we can see relative sizes, and we can look where I effed it up. This helps understand where I'm making the same mistakes over and over again, possibly. It's a little hard from where I am, so this is still, I'm still bigger. Let's see if I can make this even bigger. I'm not sure. It tends to, whoa, okay. Tends to jump, yeah, like that. Let's try that. Okay, this is gonna have to do. Close enough, right? So, he's on black here, dark background. I am still a little bit bigger, but, I mean, pretty close. I'm gonna line it up and just look. My hand's a little far over, and my foot is a little bit bigger. If you remember last week, I did that too, where I made the foot a little bit too big. I'm actually pretty happy with how that came out. There are areas that it got a little too dirty. Got to be careful when you're doing this type of drawing. I've got a black hand. Now, I've washed every break pretty much, my hands, as is the way you have to do it. So you got to be careful where you're touching. You can float something over top, like a bridge. I think I made his jaw or his chin a little bit rounder, more baby-like. I really like the angle of his face here. Let me just zoom in a little bit more. I think that looks really interesting. You can. I don't have a horizon. I don't have a background line, which would help flop up the character a little bit more. But you can see how much having this little bit of dark here underneath gives you the gravity and the spacing of where he is. I would say that there's a few parts I could actually go darker, but have less of a contrast between. So that's something, if things start to look wavy or groovy, like brain, like this is a little too much difference between these two areas. It's not softened enough. You could rub your finger, you can soften it a little bit. All in all, I think it turned out okay, but tomorrow I might hate it. Maybe I'll turn this down. Maybe I would add some more darks. If you guys are still watching and you want to see something in particular, I got a lot more pictures of Ryan, and I'm trying to pick things that don't have genitalia. I'm going to hire some more models, too, soon enough. Not even in the shot. But I'd like to hear from you, because I'm still going to do this every Wednesday. I'm going to draw what I want unless you tell me. I think maybe even next week, maybe I'll try on this paper charcoal and use some of the pointers Keith has given me over time. Minute and a half. Now I feel like I gotta fill airtime here. I am not 100% sure what's going on with my internet. I do want to say thank you because I had a lot of Wi-Fi problems. C-Space, for this time, I'm not even sure I can say it, but they're helping me out. They're helping me out with being able to send this signal out. So hopefully on Friday, I will be able to pick up from the previous class that I missed and redo the muscle stuff and maybe even like merge it with what I wanted to do with understanding how the planes and undulations fit together and what to look for where things are widest and skinniest. That's Friday. But I don't want to keep doing that for too many weeks longer because I've got my new rosemary brushes and I really want to get some painting in, and I got some new projects. One including Ryan modeled for. It's up on the wall up here, and I'll be time-lapsing that and sharing that on the social media. So, 8 seconds left. Thank you all for joining me, listening, or watching it in the future. This will be archived, I believe, on YouTube. And good night.